Hello everyone, welcome back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. How good is it doing this after a win? If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. We're smashing out subs at the moment. Nearly at 1930. The aim was to get to 2,000. We've absolutely smashed it. It was a big goal. Can't thank you enough. If you do want to, you can become a member of the channel. The legends in the description did. They help us do things like sponsor Don McCoo and give the giveaways and stuff. And head on over to pommysportsholden.com.au. We will be drawing a winner. You can win a print. A new printer will be going behind me. Just got to stop being slack and get the printer maintenance done. So we have got the stock as well of our wonderful merch. So please head on over there, pommysportsholden.com.au. The link is in the description, and help the channel out. So obviously Carlton coming off the back of really probably a surprise win against the Demons, and well, what can you say? Jesus, hey, 5-point win, and against the best in the business. And we said we'd know early doors against St Kilda, and I stood by it. And, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot of people who say practice matches mean nothing, but practice matches give you momentum and confidence. And one of the quickest ways to build confidence in anything is to win at something or do it well. And they did. And from the second half, particularly when they shelved their key forwards and we had Parksy, Plowman plucked out of the stands eating a pie, you saw that there was a bit of a drop-off. And the drop-off can easily be explained by when you look at the entries inside 50. Parks and Plowman, as God loves a trier, they didn't have the knowledge to bring it down, which Mackay and Jesus were doing exceptionally well. And let's talk a little bit about that forward pressure. The pressure around the ground this week was absolutely A1 grade. And the similarities between a Teague last 50 games and a Voss ones, there isn't any apart from they wear blue. You really did see something that I've been harping on around for 3 years. Structure, tactics, structure, tactics was really evident. And there's some really key points that we're going to cover in this show today that really explain why it happened. It's not a surprise, it's not luck. And I keep saying to people, there is no such thing as luck. Great sides, great sportsmen don't buy into that mantra. They make their own by ability and application. And the boys applied themselves. I thought the biggest takeout for me was their fight. They looked a dirty side. They didn't look like they were going to be pushed over. And if you watch the opening bounce, just watch Lockie O'Brien's eyes. Ed Langdon's trying to give him a little bit of banter and, you know, trying to be a bit of fun. And he's got the death stare. And I remember saying on the live, I thought something was going to happen there. Just because if he switched on, and he's a guy that gets a lot of abuse for something that sometimes unreally deserved. That's a worrying sign if I was Melbourne. A very worrying sign, because if they're switched on, everyone's switched on. And that is something you saw. Players applied themselves. Let's pick on a few players. McGovern. I really did enjoy his game. What I enjoyed the most about Mitch McGovern's game was his willingness to take the game on 3 times. So the first 2 times it caused us goals. Third time he kicked, he hit the target, did the same kick that got him into trouble the first time. It created a score launch. It ultimately created a goal. And that is confidence in your system. That is something that, if you go back to probably the best side I've seen under pressure, the flag-winning Eagle side a couple of years ago, they kind of took the piss under pressure. They were happy to play that short ball. And that was a huge take out of this game. Carlton's ability not to take territory, but to take possession of the football. And we're going to have some telling stats on that. But that was something for me that made me take note of this side. That it was very different. It was almost 50-50. Both games have been almost 50-50 kick to handball. In that happy medium of football inside. And it's interesting, a side that really does like to utilise the short ball. Melbourne had to resort to kicking more. And that was because we didn't give them time. And it was happy for me to see them do it for 4 quarters. They really didn't give up the fight. I wasn't bothered about the forward line or the back line. All of our problems stem from the midfield statistically. And you can't argue them stats. There is a reason that when you look at the mid stats, the bottom 4 are the bottom 4 and the top 4 are the top 4. Because that is where the pressure needs to be. Really needs to be. That's the non-negotiable. You can get away with forward half pressure and back half pressure. If your midfield pressure is on point, teams aren't getting creative with the ball. Teams don't have time. So let's have a little bit of an insular look. So there we are, look, we got Vossi smiling. Now here's a big one, right? 16 times in the last 50 games have Carlton ever won the pressure. The tackle count, just the raw tackle, 14. We won it by 14 this time. And Melbourne genuinely pride themselves on that tackle count is high. And we really did boss the midfield. There was a lot of tackles coming in that midfield, particularly in close. The one that should make you happy is we've ranked bottom 4. We've incidentally ranked bottom 4 for 4 years in this stat. 71 points from midfield chains. That has us in the top echelon of the AFL, if we can keep that up. And that is key. Carlton didn't blaze away in the clearances. And that is really, really a huge, huge leap. We don't genuinely see leaps. I went back and looked at pre-season, what we were trying to pick on last year. And it was real inconsequential things that aren't stylistic. They're just kind of momentum shifts. I-50s was one of the things we picked up on last year. That is a system change. That is something that says something has changed dramatically. And that is up there for both games where they're looking to get it. And that is something that should excite us moving in. It is a practice game, remember, but you can only judge a real game on a practice game. Are they learning something? That is something that is very telling for Carlton. 11 tackles inside 50. 17 times have we had double figures. And it's only one of a handful of times we've had multiple 2s from our small forward contingent. The pressure, the power game that Voss talks about, really evident in this one. Really evident. And considering that some of them went off at half-time, that is a huge thing. That the pressure was still there. There was a real intent of togetherness around the ball. And big shout out to Durden. Something that I complain about a lot in Carlton is in marking contests, no one is out the back. Durden reading it from the pack, taking it on, knowing that there may be a chance he has a sniff of a goal or a sniff of an opportunity and looking to do it. That is a really exciting buy-in from the football club. Only the 6th time in 2 decades have we had multiple 30 touches. We had 5. That is a huge thing. The spread of the midfield. Kennedy was exceptional, but a lot of guys had the ball. Top teams hurt you in multiples. They don't hurt you with one. And that is something that Carlton have been guilty of in the last decade. One guy has a field day and everyone gets to dine out at the table because of him. This week you saw what happens when the midfield gains ascendancy and they gain a little bit of bully mentality about them. It was hard for them to stop us. And then when they did tie down someone for 10 minutes, someone had a good 10 minutes. Kennedy was exceptional. But then you've also got to think that midfield has Walsh coming into it, who we know is exceptional, and he gets 30 for banter. That is something that, if I'm Walsh and I was watching that in the stands, I'd be like, fucking hell, can't wait to play with these boys. And Cripper, back to basics, doing the simple things. And the goals he kicked stem from his name, his brand. Knowing that he's tough and he can get away from you and the confidence flows. He's an exceptional footballer, and seeing him move freely should be a reason that we get excited. We ranked bottom 2 last year from scores from clearances and stoppages. Versus the best side, 46 versus 19. And we haven't won one of them for a long time, just so you know. That puts us in the top echelon of AFL. And it's one of the stats, one of the mighty 5 that pretty much the winners of the flag, winners of the 8, they live in them categories. They live in that. And that shows where Carlton have changed. And that was the setup around the ball. No longer do we drag a guy behind. No longer are we defensive and accepting to give it up. We're looking to create a stoppage or get it moving forward with them 4 handball chains. And that is a really exciting little facet that if he carries over into the main season, which I think it will, Carlton will be all right. And they'll win more games than they lose. And that is just from a structural perspective. You are talking, this is chalk and cheese. This is 98 Brazil versus 2008 North Korea in football terms. It's chalk and cheese. It's chalk and cheese. Let's look at some other things that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed that when the forwards were rested, that Vossi stuck to his guns. He didn't do the easy thing, Mitch McGovern forward. He played Plowman and Parks. And that to me says it's a man who trusts his system, who trusts his instinct. And when we did chop and change, we chopped and changed with efficiency. We chopped and changed and kept their aces in their places. I really enjoyed the battle that Mcdonald and Young had as well. And that's a big shout out to them. Mcdonald I thought was better across 4 quarters. But I look at Young, and when Melbourne gained a bit of ascendancy, I thought Young was very good. And I think that causes a question for Vossi. And saying that, well, you know what, Young did stand out when we were getting battered. And I want to see them add that consistency. Finally, I want to talk about Lockie O'Brien, and I know that people will pan him. He statistically was better than Ed Langdon. Apart from Ed Langdon's 4th quarter, he would have been a world apart. He played on him for 75% of the game as well. Ed Langdon is the best in the business, probably with Carl Amon. And that showed us a bit of signs, and he was very good when Mackay was on the field as forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing that moving forward. All in all, it is a practice game. We have to say that. Obviously, there's no 4 points on the line. But to counter that, I do think anyone who is going on that tangent is a practice game. They've got an agenda that isn't Carlton Football Club. In my opinion, it's an agenda for making a name for themselves. You have to get excited about that, because I've covered this game very insular, a very linear level for you guys and girls for many years now. I've never seen anything that is glaring on a structural change. I want to see it round 1. But right now, round 1, based on the data, based on what you saw with the eye, based on the players that come in, this is a very exciting time. They're growing wings and they've taken flight. I'm looking forward to this round 1. We are in a position now where we have a coach who has addressed the concerns. I implore everyone to go to PPI, where we put these on Blue Abroad. The episode 2 with Paolo, episode 3 is going to be recorded this week. They were the big starter that we took out of why Carlton were turgid. And he's addressed it. And full credit to Voss, full credit to the boys out on the field. That was the first time I've ever left alive. And I was kind of emotional to watch it with you guys and girls. To see a side that did have pride, had fight, had desire, and looked like a footballing side. I am very excited, and I can't wait to entertain you Thursday week when we play Richmond. Let me know what your takeouts were. As always, I really appreciate the feedback. Much love to you all. And go the mighty baggers!